Hello and welcome to Super OK, where we try to do a decent enough job to entertain people with our opinions on video games. As always, my name is Dale, and I'm joined here by my absolutely lovely host, Zando. Zando, how are you today?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
You're only just fine?
Well, I guess I'm a little bit better than fine. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm
in a
looking
good
at you.
spot.
You're pretty fine. I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. We had a hectic day, but I'm excited to talk some video games with you. So,
Yes.
we got that going on. For pulling back the curtain a little bit, we are actually recording this at like 11 o'clock at night
Which means
during
Brody's
the weekend.
definitely not here.
Yeah, Brody's about to wake up. So it's pretty good. For those of you who are just joining us, this is a podcast about video games, but every week we start with a highlight of our week, something that made our week a little bit better, a little bit brighter, a little bit nicer to live in. Xander, would you like to go first with what your highlight of the week is?
Sure. So this has kind of been the highlight of the past 2 weeks, really. I picked up Sea of Stars the day it came out, August 29th, and I have been hopelessly addicted to it. If for those of you who aren't familiar, Sea of Stars is a new game from the creators of The Messenger. I believe it's Sabotage, and it is basically a love letter to mid 90s classic JRPGs like Chrono Trigger, Super Mario RPG, just that style. It's a short game. It's about 26 hours if you don't go crazy completionist mode. If you're trying to get through the story, about 26 hours. Which for me, a father of two, working and all that stuff, it's a nice way that I can pick up and play for like a half hour, 45 minutes every night and still feel like I'm making decent progress.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a battle similar to Super Mario RPG with timed hits and timed defense, and
Cool.
just lovable writing. It takes place in the world of The Messenger, so if you've played The Messenger, there are a ton of Easter eggs for you to find out, and it's had me smiling from ear to ear like a dummy so many times, just for little nods to the Messenger, which is a game that I didn't play until the beginning of last month, and so it all kind of tied right together, and I've just been having an absolute blast with it.
Nice. That's awesome. I did not realize that it did like the timed hits thing that like the Super Mario RPGs do. That's cool. I've had this game on my radar for a little while. I know a lot of people in the Discord were super stoked on it. And so I am excited to try it in the future once I finally finish Baldur's Gate 3, which, considering the fact that I went into Act 2 and then came out of Act 2 and went back to Act 1 to do some stuff, I don't know if I'm ever going to finish this game,
Right.
but I'm having a blast with it. But no, I'm glad to hear that Sea of Stars is good. How far into it are you? Like how many hours?
I've been doing some work today for completionist, so I think I'm about 27, maybe 28. I got to the point where the game literally said, "Hey, you can go fight the final boss if you want to. Just whenever you're ready, go there and fight him."
Okay, that's awesome.
So like you unlock like your final mode of transportation on the world map, and then it's like, "Hey, you can do this now. Congratulations. Go fight that dude or don't. We just go, yeah, whatever."
Is it a spoiler to say what the final mode of transportation is? Is it airship?
It might be if you ask Gannon, it's going to be a spoiler. Like,
okay, then I won't spoil it. But I submit that the best mode of final transportation in any game is airship. And if you don't agree with that, tell me why I'm wrong in the Discord. But I think most people would agree.
Mm-hmm.
My highlight of the week was that my wife Ange and I took a vacation to the Berkshires, which is a mountain range in western Massachusetts. Originally, we were supposed to be wrapping up the work on our house around this time, and we thought it would be nice to like get away and then come back and be able to move in and all of that. And instead, the work on our house starts tomorrow. Oops. So the week before, we had to move out from our house for 4 months so that it can be lifted into the sky and have the basement replaced. we decided, you know what, let's take a vacation to the western side of Massachusetts. But it was absolutely awesome. We went to the Massachusetts MoCA, the Museum of Contemporary Art, and I had there's an art exhibit there called Perfectly Clear, and if you are in the area, if you have the ability, you should 100% go and check this out, because it is the closest thing to like a Willy Wonka experience that I've ever had in my life.
Mhm.
And part of me doesn't want to talk about it because it was so crazy, but part of me knows most people aren't ever going to get a chance to go there. So if you think you're going to go, just like fast forward until I'm done talking about this. But for everybody else, we walked into this room and there's this like screen on the wall that's like glowing green. And the guy's like, okay, you have to step on the sticky pad to get the dust off your shoes. And we're like, all right, cool. And then he's like, okay, now that you've done that, put these booties over your shoes. And we're like, okay, cool. And then he was like, you can sit on the bench or on the stairs. It doesn't matter where you sit. And then he's like, okay, now follow me. And he walks up the stairs to where the screen is and then steps into the screen, because it's not a screen. It's a huge room, like 20 by 20 by 20. And it is like perfectly saturated with green light throughout the whole freaking thing. And it was absolutely wild. And we're in there, and he's like, okay, all these lights are going to flash different colors. There's going to be different strobe effects, and it's going to like mess with your eyes. Don't go too far forward. You will fall into a 6-foot pit. There's an alarm that will hit before you do that, though. So if you hear the alarm, just step backwards and it'll be fine. Outside of that, feel free to wander around the room. If you feel a curve, you are at the edge of the wall. Um, so don't keep walking or you'll hit the wall. And we're like, what is going to happen here? This is insane. And then the lights start going, and all of a sudden the walls of the room melt away, and it's
Jeez.
just like blue forever. And it looks like I am looking out in an infinite distance, and the wall that was just in front of me now looks like a screen that is illuminating light at me, but it's not. It was absolutely insane. If you
Wow.
have the opportunity to go to this exhibit, go. It is called James Turrell, Perfectly Clear. You have to make a reservation ahead of time, but it is without question like the most Willy Wonka shit I've ever experienced in my life. And then later at that same museum, we got to see Always perform, and they're like an awesome like pop rock band. And then the rest of the vacation was awesome too. We went hiking, we saw waterfalls, we went to the tallest point in Massachusetts, we went to all these cool little shops. Like it was a really, really great vacation. I cannot recommend it enough. If you go, I would not recommend staying at the Berkshire Mountain Lodge. That's where we stayed, and it was a bit of a cluster cat. But other than that, everything was totally awesome. Like legit, the hot water went out the night we were leaving
Ugh.
to get on a train for 13 hours. And so I didn't get to take like a hot shower before I got on this train. Like there was mold on one of the curtains, like that sort of stuff. But
Mhm.
they every night they had a movie night, and also there were people who were staying there who had a dog named Mr. Coco, and we ran into him 3 times, and that was delightful. So if you can be there when Mr. Coco's there, it's worth it. Otherwise, find somewhere else to stay. Yeah,
That sounds real wacky and very interesting.
it
I'm
was.
curious how it would go with kids. Probably not a, a spot to take them.
It depends on how old they are. I probably wouldn't take kids that are your kids' age, but
Mhm.
like in that like 9 and up, like they'd probably be okay with following the directions and like that
Yeah.
sort of thing. And yeah, at that point, I think it would be cool. Like there was a different exhibit there because the artist's name is James Turrell, and his whole thing is he plays with light. And so there was this one thing where we had, like went in and sat in perfect darkness, and then around like 3 minutes in, our irises started to adjust. And by the time we were in there for like 15 minutes, we saw this like painting on the wall that looked like it was levitating and glowing blue. And it was crazy because it takes that long for your irises to adjust, right?
Mhm.
It's absolutely a very, very cool exhibit.
Very
So
cool.
sorry to ramble on about Western Massachusetts, but
Oh, no
it's,
worries, man.
I had a great time there. I had a great time there. Um, what's another topic that I love to ramble about?
What's that?
Marvel Universe.
Oh,
I'm a big fan of the Marvel Universe. You're a pretty big fan of the Marvel Universe as well, right?
I dabble quite a bit.
Yeah, right. We've both seen all of the movies. I don't. Have you seen all of the TV shows?
I have not seen all of What If, and I've not seen all of Miss Marvel, but everything else I'm 100% caught up on.
I haven't seen Secret War yet. I do recommend finishing What If. It pays off really well in the end.
Mhm.
Um, But yeah, so we're both pretty big fans. I used to work at a comic shop. I have a substantial comic collection. You've got a substantial comic collection. And the Marvel Universe is home to a bunch of different things that we love, right?
Right.
Action figures. I didn't mention statues. You've got a collection of those, right? Am I missing any things?
Let's see. Comic books, movies, statues, action figures, video games.
There are a bunch of Marvel video games, right? And some of them are actually really good. But until last year, we never had a solid digital card game with Marvel characters in it. Luckily, Marvel Snap has come along to save the day. It was
Mhm.
created by a company called Second Dinner, which was helmed by Ben Brode, a former designer of the WoW TCG and a small indie game that you may have heard of called Hearthstone. And this card game is breaking the mold for digital card games in a variety of ways. And we're going to talk about them. Excelsior. So, first
Excelsior.
question. Excelsior. First question for you, Zando. Explain Marvel Snap to somebody who's never played it. Tell me how it works.
So Marvel Snap is a collectible card game where you have three locations. I guess. Well, let me back up. It's a 1v1 card game where there are three locations, and you have a deck of 12 cards that you can choose from a whole bunch of different characters with different costs, different powers, and all that.
And
And
you
the goal
build
of the
that deck
game,
before you go in,
right?
right?
Yes, yes, you do. And then you have three locations, and the idea of the game is you want to lay down your cards in a way that makes it so you win at least two of the three locations based on the power of your cards. Now, every single card has a different power or lack thereof that makes them unique. There are some cards that literally have no powers and just has a quote that is inspired by the character. There are cards that have on reveal effects. So when the card flips over and your opponent gets to see what you played, something happens. There are cards that have ongoing powers, which just means the entire time that card is in play, provided another card doesn't mess with it, it has a power that just keeps going. Um, and then I think that's about just ongoing on reveal. And then
There's
some
some that
just
have
have
static. Yeah.
yeah, some that just have static things that will just happen, and there's nothing that it doesn't have to be revealed or anything like that for it to happen. It just has to be on the board for it to happen.
Yeah.
And so there you can mess with your opponent's cards, they can mess with yours, all that. And after 6 turns or 7 or 4, depending on other things that happen throughout the game, uh, the game ends and whoever has the most power across the three stages, or if you have two locations where you have the most power, you win. Or if there's a situation where you're tied on one location and your opponent's winning one location and you're winning the other, it's a total power game. So
Yep.
whoever has the highest amount of power wins that game. And then
The
you
one
play for
thing,
cubes.
y-
You can get 1 cube by just leaving the game or having your opponent leave the game early. If you finish all 6 turns, you get 2 cubes. But then the interesting thing is where the title of the game comes from is you can snap, like a Thanos like snap situation, and that really puts the pressure on. If you snap, then it raises the final stakes from 2 cubes to 4. But the other cool thing is your opponent can also snap, raising the final potential cube limit to 8. So at any point in the game, you can retreat, or your opponent can retreat. So it's a matter of kind of figuring out, oh, there's not a chance I can win this. I'm going to bail out now, take the loss of 1 to 2 cubes, and then bail out. Or you can just say, you know what, I'm confident. I think I've got what I can beat this. I'm calling their bluff. They don't have the card that they need to make this magical thing work. And then you rise in the ranks, or you fall in the ranks. Either way.
yeah.
Did I miss
Uh,
anything?
The one thing that you missed is that in addition to every card having an ability, every card has a cost, and
Yes.
you get a certain amount of energy every turn based on turn 1 you get 1 energy, turn 6 you get 6, so on and so forth. And every card has a power,
Mhm.
like a numerical power that they add to that location. And so like you said, the goal at the end of the game is to control 2 of the locations by having the most power there. And so some of those cards that you mentioned that don't necessarily have other abilities might just be really strong, right? Like
Mhm.
Hulk costs 6 energy, but he puts 12 power on the board.
Right.
He's a very, very powerful unit, right? And so that's kind of the back and forth of it. And then you mentioned the retreat mechanic. The one thing I just want to talk about is like that is so counterintuitive to any other game that I've played, where
Mhm.
learning when to retreat is such an important skill. And part of that is because um, this game actually has a really interesting take on progression. And so I kind of wanted to talk about how it does that as well. So there's a bunch of different tracks that you can progress on uh, in the game. The first one is just your ranking. Every
Mhm.
month is a new season in the game, essentially, right? Sometimes
Right.
it doesn't fall exactly on the end of the month or whatnot. And those cubes that Xander talked about let you rise up in rank all the way up from 0 to 100. Every rank takes 7 cubes to go up one rank, right? And every 10 ranks that you raise, you get a reward, which is kind of cool. So that's one of the ways that you can progress in the game. Another way that you can progress in the game is your collection level, and this is a really really interesting take on CCGs. Um, the long and the short of collection level is every card in the game can be upgraded, and these upgrades have no mechanical benefit, which is really wild. They are purely cosmetic benefits, but by upgrading these cards, you earn collection points. And every, what is it, 4? Yeah,
Yeah, every
every
4.
4 collection points that you raise, you get some sort of reward. My collection level right now is 6,860. What is yours? Do you know?
Mine is 7,352.
Right. And so as you raise, you earn things like boosters, which are the currency that you consume to upgrade cards, or credits, which is another currency that you consume. You can also earn alternate art. You can earn new cards this way. In fact, this is the primary way that you earn new cards in the beginning of the game when you're first starting. You can earn avatars and quotes and all these other card backs and all sorts of different cool stuff by going up this collection level. What's interesting about it is your collection level mechanically serves no purpose, but as I said, it's the primary way that you unlock new cards. There are no packs, there's no loot boxes inside Marvel Snap that
Mhm.
you can purchase. Um, there are chests that you open as you go up this collection level, but it's just a really interesting way to talk about progression. And then there's a third form of progression in the form of conquest, which I want to talk about that a little bit later because it's a different
For
game
sure.
mode, kind of. But just know that there's a third form of progression in this game.
Yeah. And like you
It-
mentioned, the whole collector level, and that's how you get your primary cards. That was by design. They wanted to make a game where you couldn't just come in, drop boatloads of money, and have all the cards. They didn't want it to be pay to win.
yeah,
So yeah, that's your primary way of getting new cards. Now there are 5 different series of cards. So there's like series 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you start with 12 cards, and you keep unlocking. So you go from series 1 to series 2, and then series 3 is when it blows up and there's all sorts of cards. And the only way you can get those is by going through that collection level. Series 4 does the same thing. Those are a little bit more powerful. And then series 5 are some of the most powerful, or just the newest. They've started putting stuff in series 4 when it comes out, and you can buy those cards with things called collector's tokens, which is another currency that is specifically for unlocking cards. You can buy the series 3 cards. It's a whole other thing. I don't want to get too into the intricacies of that, but just know that there are
yeah,
ways that you can earn currency to purchase cards, and they do have a shop, and you can pay actual money. but the only thing you can buy with the actual money is gold, and gold does nothing but get you cosmetic stuff.
Yeah,
Or
it's
again,
really interesting.
you can buy credits, but it's a weird exchange rate. It's like $5 gets you 300 gold or something like that, and 300 gold gets you a very low amount of credit. So you really have to spend a buttload of money to kind of really cheat the system in that way. And there are certainly people who do it. The other way that you can get cards by like buying them is, for example, right now at recording there is a bundle that you can purchase for $29.99, and inside that you get the Agent Coulson card and White Queen, and that's you buy those variants and it unlocks that base card for you early, more or
Yeah.
less.
Yeah. That's one thing that I actually really wanted to talk about here is the monetization in Marvel Snap is super bizarre, right? There are some things that I like about it and there's some things that I don't. The things that I like about it, I love the fact that it is for the most part not at all pay to win or even pay to unlock cards, right?
Mhm.
You can do that a little bit, but it's such diminishing returns that, like, if you're a whale in this game, if you want to spend hundreds of dollars every month, you really aren't going to have the ability to unlock a ton of cards by doing that
Mhm.
unless the specific card that you want is in the shop at that exact moment, right?
Yeah.
um but it allows you to move up the collection track a little bit quicker. And like you said, it allows you to unlock variants of cards. And one of the cool things about this game is every card has a bunch of different variants from different artists in different styles that you can select when you're playing the game. And every variant can be upgraded in the way that we talked about before as a
Mhm.
way of kind of boosting up your collection level number. What do you think about the monetization in Snap?
I think it's kind of ebbed and flowed, and right now I think we're at a spot where Second Dinner has to kind of figure out how they want it to work, um, because they have a lot of things in the shop right now. Like the variants cost at least 700 gold to purchase, and they have a thing where it keeps track of how many you've bought. And once you reach 10, you get a bonus variant and 200 or 2,000 collector's tokens, which are the ways to get the more expensive cards. And the only way to get gold nowadays is through weekly challenges. And there's a season pass that we didn't mention earlier. For like
Mhm.
$10 a month, you can buy a season pass, which gets you a exclusive card. Well, not exclusive. It's exclusive to that season pass until like a month later, and then you get a chance to get it in the collection level.
I love
Um,
how this game is so straightforward until you start talking about monetization because it's a mobile game, right? And so
mhm.
there's like four different currencies and all of that, but the game itself is so free of all of that complicatedness. It's really
Yes.
bizarre, you know?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh yeah. No problem. Except I totally forgot what I was talking about.
You were talking about
So
the season pass.
yeah, so that's how you get there's a monthly card that's through there. So for $10 you get that card, and then a whole bunch of other stuff. And you kind of like this through the ways that you can. There are 50 levels of unlocking, and you can get gold through there. You can get credits, variants, and all that stuff. So if you pay the $10, you end up getting a whole bunch of stuff that kind of makes it worth that. And my reasoning for I've bought it every month since November. I didn't the very first, like the official launch in October of last year. I didn't pick it up, but I've been playing this game so much. I'm like, I can throw $10 a month at this company for making a game that is like worth my while. And that's uh, probably way more money than I should spend on a video game. But I'm looking at it like, I'm getting my money's worth out of it every single time. I'm enjoying it, and whatnot. And I haven't bought any of the massive, like they have a thing that's like $100 and you get a ton of credits, which would bump your collection level up by quite a bit. I've not
Ridiculous.
jumped
Best
on that.
value, as Brody loves to say.
Right. Well, there was one that was there's one that pissed a lot of people off back in June when they stopped doing series drops. Well, not they haven't done one since then, but Darkhawk was supposed to go from a series 4 to a series 3, and then they didn't. And
Yep.
people were like pissed, like, we want Darkhawk. We've been saving up to buy Darkhawk. And then they put out a bundle that was like
Oh, I remember this.
$30, and it
Yeah.
said 3 times value. And if you do the math, it definitely wasn't. So now 3 times value has been a joke in the community. Like, oh, this that's really expensive. That's 3 times value.
Yeah.
They had what they put out one. There was one earlier or last month that was $75, and it was a mecha death variant. It was just stupid. There's a She-Hulk one
Yeah.
coming up. My favorite was there was $100 one for the collector. and it gave you
Yeah.
a bunch of collector's tokens and stuff. And I saw one person who bought it, and their name was "You Are Poor," and I was like, "That's brilliant!" Like, if you had the money to buy that and then just rub it in everybody else's faces, that's pretty awesome.
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
But
I
again, that
mean,
person didn't have the advantage to somebody who didn't buy any, like who's never bought
yeah.
anything and is completely free to play. Because the other thing is, if you do spend all that money, like if you are a whale and you spend so much money to unlock all these cards, guess what you lack? The experience of the cards and knowing how they work.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. It's funny that you bring that up because I have a friend, Mike Karbowski, friend of the pod, who is also playing Marvel Snap. He got Infinite, which is the highest possible rank, like 2 days ago, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
6 days into the season or something like that, and he sent me a list and was like, "This is what I've been playing," and I had all of the cards, so I put it together. I took it in. I started playing with it, and I had no clue how this fucking deck worked. I had
Mm-hmm.
no idea how to play this deck,
Yeah.
and so the experience that you bring up is like really interesting because it is crucial because the decks are so small. They're 12 cards. You start with 3 in your hand, and you're going to
Mm-hmm.
draw 6 over the course of the remainder of the game. Like, you see a vast majority of your deck every single game. So you
Yep.
have to know how every individual card is going to interact with one another, how every individual card is going to interact with the cards that your opponents could be playing, that sort of thing. And that is something you cannot pay your way out of, right?
Yeah.
It's not like if you are playing Magic Online, for instance, and you're playing Arena, and you can just build this deck that's going to steamroll everybody because you dropped thousands of dollars on cards.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
There's
very,
also,
very different way of monetizing.
yeah, there's no money you can throw at the game to get extra energy to spend each turn. There's no extra money you can spend to draw an extra card, because most of the times there's going to be 4 cards in your deck at the end of the game that you just don't get to play, and sometimes they're the
Uh-huh.
most crucial cards for your deck to work. And
Yeah.
those games are frustrating as all hell.
Yes, they are. You mentioned that you bought every season pass. I only buy the season pass if I really like the card that
Mhm.
you unlock. I haven't bought this season. The season is Loki. I'm probably going to.
Dude, Loki's
Spoiler warning.
broken right now.
Spoiler warning for my wife, but I like the Loki card. I want to play with it. I think it's worth $10 to like do that and then get all the other stuff in the season pass. But like last season, I got to season pass level, like, I don't know, 60 something, and I never bought it because I didn't care about Dakin, right?
Mhm.
If you were a Dakin stan, put it in the Discord, whatever. But I doubt anybody out there is loving Dakin. Are you a Dakin fan? You look like you're kind of
I
sad
didn't
right now.
really I didn't care for the card that
Mhm.
much. I just, the other, like the 4 mystery variants you get are always good. Well, most of the time they're good. But usually, and especially in the season pass, I feel like they're all pixels, but
They
um
always are. It's always
yeah.
pixels.
Yeah. So I honestly look at the season pass. I'm like, oh yeah, this card's kind of neat, but like mostly it's the extra credits that you get to help you bump up your collection level, and the extra gold that you can get throughout to buy those different variants. Which I'm a sucker for the baby variants, and I'm trying to buy all the baby variants I can get.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
They're very
I
cute.
just yeah
If you're listening and you haven't looked them up, you can look up all the like Marvel Snap variants on a
yeah
bunch of different websites and check them out. The
yeah.
art in the game is absolutely gorgeous
Shout out
in
to
most cases.
shout out to snap.fan. That's my favorite one to go to look for the different variants, because it gives you the best view and you can see all the different ways that you can customize the card and stuff. So
Yeah,
there you go.
cool. So obviously we're both pretty deep into this game, but is this your first digital trading card game that you've gotten into?
No, as I played a little bit of the Pokemon trading card game last year, and
Okay.
Marvel Snap is what got me out of it. So I was like, oh,
Okay.
this is the game I would have put my money into, because I was collecting the cards and spent a fair amount. And the cool thing about, like, physical card games, and then there was also a digital version of that, which is why I'm considering that. Is being able to collect them and then sell them off if you need to. So I kind of broke even on my Pokemon. But my very first digital card game that I played, that I played a lot of and put money into to get the different expansion packs, is Ascension. Ascension
Mm.
is a game that you introduced me to, the physical version, and I bought a bunch of the expansions and loved it. And so when I first got my smartphone, you showed me that there was a version of it on there, and I loved it. And so I kept playing that for a while, and I think I eventually fell off with the different expansions that they started selling on there. But that's a great deck building game if you like deck builders. Um, so yeah, that would be my first one.
I have been playing Ascension on my phone literally every day for the past 10 years. I have
Nice.
4 games going with coworkers, ex-coworkers from a different store. I was working at one Apple store, and these are people from a different store. I don't know any of their names. I don't know who these people are, but I have been playing Ascension games with them for the past 10 years. They're some of my oldest friends. I do not know any of their names. It's amazing.
That's
Um,
awesome.
Similarly, I've been playing a game called Eternal, which is basically like Magic by people who played Magic digitally for around the same time frame. And while that game does have packs in it, it is so generous. I think I've put maybe $50 into it total over those 10 years. And
Mhm.
I've never felt like I have been missing out on anything, but I literally, again, play it every single day.
Yeah.
I play at least one round of it every single day. And then beyond that, I've played a bunch of like non-collectible card games as well. You've got your Storybook Brawls, RIP. I've been playing Runeverse recently. I'm top 30 in the world right now in that.
Nice.
Um, but none of them hit the same way that Snap does. And I think the reasoning for that is the the community support that they've had, right? The fact that
Mhm.
they are constantly adding new cards and new characters and tweaking and adjusting. They do like big patches every single month
Yep.
where they adjust different cards to make sure that the win rates don't get out of hand, that sort of thing. And then they
Mhm.
even have these smaller, they call them over the air updates that they'll do like once every 2 weeks or so.
Yeah,
For a little
it's
while, they were doing them every week.
it's the so what they do is they'll do an OTA, they'll do a patch, they'll do an OTA, they'll take a week off.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of been the pattern of it. So you have
Yeah.
OTA patch, OTA week off, OTA patch, OTA week off.
Yeah, and OTAs over the air updates are just like um, really minor things like
Yep.
removing a point of power or making a card cost one more, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then patches can do like crazy reworks of cards and introduce new mechanics and introduce new locations and all sorts of different things. It's very
Mhm.
cool. It's it definitely keeps the game feeling fresh
Yeah.
without making it feel like super overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's not like uh for a little while their Magic was releasing a set every 2 months, and it was like there's just too many cards. I just can't keep up with all of the stuff that Magic is producing.
Mhm.
And it does not feel like that with Marvel Snap because they don't do sets. They just do individual cards, right? And
Yep.
on average,
Every
they'll release 4 cards a month.
Yep. Every Tuesday a new card comes out, or Monday night, if you will.
Yeah.
So right now here in Detroit, we get updates, like updates for the game I believe it's every 8 hours. So like 11 p.m., 6 a.m., and then like 3 p.m. or something like that.
Yeah.
Uh, and so that'll update the daily missions. You get 2 every 8 hours, and then at the 24-hour mark, so 11 p.m. here in Detroit, we get the store updates, and then um, the daily, you get like the season pass has like daily missions and stuff like that. So there's all those.
Yeah. Yeah. And you get 50 free credits just for logging in.
Sure do.
That's
But
a
yeah, so every Tuesday you get a new card, except for like the last Tuesday of the month or the first Tuesday of the month, because that's season pass card. So they don't throw
yeah.
anything new there.
Yeah. So we have been talking a lot of crunch so far. Let's talk a little bit
Yes.
of fluff. Who's your favorite Marvel character?
Uh, for the longest time, my favorite Marvel character has been Thor.
Okay. Do
How
you
about
like
you?
their card?
Oh, It's not like my favorite one to play. I think it makes sense. So Thor is a 3-cost 4 power card that adds the Mjolnir card to your deck. And Mjolnir is a 0-cost 0 power card, but when it is played on reveal, it gives +6 power to Thor. And you can add that to other cards that like double your on reveal powers, or you can do things that like will let you shuffle cards back into your hand, so you can eventually get Thor to be super powerful. And when you have a deck building around Thor, he's a pretty powerful card, and so he's pretty cool, but it's just not my play style.
Yeah, that's fair. For reference, 3 costs, usually you'll get like 6 or 7 power out of that. And so 4 power is pretty low below average, but 10 is pretty high above average.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely some variance in there.
Yeah, and
To
it's
answer
also
your, oh, go ahead.
it also could be a situation where you shuffle Mjolnir into your deck and it's at the bottom of your deck and you never actually draw it.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting. One thing that's really interesting about how they design this game, though, is cards that are allied in the Marvel universe have
Mhm.
like
Synergy.
complementary effects, right?
Yep.
Synergies. And so there's also Jane Foster, Thor. Um, and her she's a 5'8", which is about where you want that to be, but her ability is she draws all 0-cost cards from your deck. So if
Mhm.
Mjolnir's stuck on the bottom, now you got it for the 6th turn, which is pretty
Yep.
cool. To answer your question for me, around my favorite is Doctor Strange. I have
Mhm.
loved Doctor Strange forever. I love all the weird 70s Steve Ditka, like psychedelic strange stuff. I love him going to hell with Doctor Doom and tricking Mephisto. Like, I love all of that stuff, right?
Mhm.
And so when they released or when I saw the Doctor Strange card, it was such a disappointment to me because
If Yeah.
he's bad. He's just not
He's
good.
he is good if you play move archetype. Like he can be pretty good. He was a
Yes.
staple in my move decks.
Now, here's the thing, listeners. Doctor Strange costs 3 energy, and he has 3 measly power, which is worse than Thor when he's not powered up.
Mhm.
And he says on reveal, move your highest powered cards to this location. So yes, if you're playing a deck that relies on moving stuff around the board, there are a bunch of cards that say like when you move this, it gets stronger, you double its power, it leaves a copy behind, that sort of thing. In that specific deck, he's awesome. I don't play that kind of deck. I don't want to move shit around the board. I want my stuff to be where it is so I can do the math easier. I'm
Mhm.
old, my brain's bad. I don't need to like, oh well, if I move this guy over here and then I move over here and then I move over here, I can't do that, right? I'm not playing 5D chess, multi-dimensional time travel. I'm playing Marvel Snap. And so I was really, really bummed out about the
Yeah.
Doctor Strange card. That said, there have been some cards that have come out that I have absolutely loved. Another one of my favorites, and nobody knows who this guy. Well, prior to Guardians of the Galaxy, nobody knew who this guy was. But as a kid, I loved the Howard the Duck movie.
Mhm.
It was absolutely terrible, but I loved it. And so when Howard the Duck made the cameo at the end of Guardians, that was awesome. And then they brought out a Howard the Duck card, and I absolutely love it. I don't play it, I don't use it,
I don't even have it yet.
but I love it. It's a 1-cost, 2-power card, and all it lets you do is look at the top card of your deck whenever you want.
Mhm.
You could just look at the top card of your deck so you'll know what you're going to draw. And
Yep.
I love it because it's like, is it very strong? No. Is it goofy as hell? Yes. And I
Mhm.
love the fact that Marvel Snap has the space to put cards like this in. And there's entire archetypes that are built around knowing what the top card of your deck is. And so
Yep.
he's really powerful in that specific environment. I just don't happen to play that environment.
Right. Yeah, that's I have Iron Lad, which is the card that he works with really well. And Iron Lad is a 4-cost 6-power card that lets you copy the card that's on top of your deck. So having Howard the Duck and Iron Lad, you're like, oh, what card's next? Ooh, I want to definitely use that power. Let me, double up on it.
Yeah.
So there's that, like you said, there's sometimes it's synergy across like characters that would know each other in the comic or movie universe, and sometimes it's just synergy of, hey, these cards all come out this month. For example, the month that we're in now is we've got Loki season 2 dropping at the beginning of next month. So Loki is the card this month, and then you also have Ravana Renslayer, who has something to do with your enemy card cost or your cost. I don't remember which it is. Oh, it's your cost. And then Mobius comes out in 2 weeks, and that's going to be playing around with, or I guess 3 weeks. I'm forgetting. Eliath comes out this week.
Yeah.
And that just makes it so that Mobius makes it so that your opponent's cards cost can't be lowered and your cost can't be raised. So Loki's going to be obsolete in a couple weeks.
Yep.
So it's interesting how all these kind of play together.
But it's funny because if you watched the Loki series, like, who's the one person who could capture Loki? It's Mobius and Mobius. And now in the game, it's like Loki's running rampant right now until Mobius comes out, and then he's not going to do anything. So it's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's cool. So we have talked about a bunch of different like deck types. Those are called archetypes. The meta in the game is constantly changing as to which archetypes are good, which are bad, that sort of thing, based on the individual cards as they come out and as they're shifting. But what are the archetypes that you tend to like to play?
I have not made Infinite yet, and I've been playing this game since October of last year. It's kind of the bane of my existence right now. I kind of hate that I haven't hit Infinite, not because like there's grandiose rewards for it or anything. Like you get a special card back. It's just one of those like goals in the game that I just want to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I play through quite a different things. I follow groups on Reddit that are like, hey, these are the decks that I'm using. You should try them out. And I watch a bunch of different content creators who are like, I'm playing this deck right now, and this did really well for me. So I'm constantly trying different things. I don't have. I guess the archetype I like the best is Chaos. Like I love just being able to have something pop up that I'm not expecting, and then be able to win a game with it. So I play a lot of stuff. Like one of my favorite and most reliable decks for me, just because of the way my brain works of taking advantage of situations that I have, are like there's like the Agents of Shield kind of thing where you're just drawing random cards
Mm-hmm.
into your hand and
Yep.
then just playing because your opponent has no idea how to react to that. Like, oh, you're trying to do these things, and there are some things that they can try to do to mess you up, like make it so your on reveal things don't work. But for the most part, it's chaos. They don't know what to expect, and I love when the games work out where I'm like, I've just got a bunch of cards that all of a sudden work really well together. I wasn't expecting it, but here we go. Or when I get a Doctor Strange, and then I also have a thing that's like turn all these into Hulks, and I'm like, cool, I'm going to move all those Hulks over here and completely throw off my opponent's game because now they can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
So that's probably my favorite. I've played around with Move, and that's been a lot of fun. Destroy is one that I probably should play more of because that's constantly, I feel, what most people strive with. I just don't know. I feel like I have the worst RNG luck with that. So
Mm.
between the complete random chaos of the Agents of Shield stuff and what I'm currently playing right now, just because I'm like trying to push to Infinite, is a High Evolutionary Lockdown deck,
Mm.
which is doing okay for me.
Yeah. High Evolutionary is very strong.
He is.
It's funny because you mentioned at the beginning how there are some cards that have no abilities. High Evolutionary's ability is that he gives all of those cards that have no abilities. So he like just completely breaks the game. It's
Yep.
absolutely wild.
He's such a boring deck to play, but it's consistent.
Yeah. I have gotten to Infinite a couple times, and I have been playing the exact same deck for the past 3 months, and it's just a Nimrod Shuri Destroy package. It is. I wouldn't say that it's consistent. Like I'm not going to win every game, but there are a ton of games that I just sneak out 4 or 8 cubes because my opponent doesn't realize what I'm capable of on the last turn.
Right.
You know, if I can drop a Venom and a Nova and a Carnage and produce 20 power on the last turn when they weren't anticipating it, it gets wild. The only downside is because, as you said, a lot of people play it. I'll face a lot of decks where, like early on, it'll be like, all right, they snap on turn 2, and then on turn 3 they Cosmo me, or they
Mhm.
plan armor and stop all my things from being destroyed. And so, in addition to that, I have a Professor X lockdown deck that uses Thanos to get Professor X out a little bit earlier. And I play that quite a bit. And then I have a pretty decent discard deck as well, where the object of the entire deck is to discard cards from my hand, which
Mhm.
sounds counterintuitive. But then you've got, it's Morbin time. You can play Morbius, and he gets +2 power for every card that you've discarded.
Yeah.
So that one's also capable of putting out a lot of power all at once.
Yeah. It's
Um,
really interesting, like, to talk about this game, not knowing if people have played it.
yeah,
Like, feeling like every time, like, "Oh, you mentioned Morbius. Let me step back. Let me tell you what Morbius does." I feel like we could probably record a whole other episode of Marvel Snap where we just talk about the intricacies of, like, playing and, like, for the initiated, if you will.
yeah, definitely. Like I I liken this episode to like a introduction to Marvel Snap, but if
Mhm.
you are playing Marvel Snap and you want to talk deeper, like please hop into the Discord. There are
Yep.
so many people who are playing Snap in there. Shout out to Cliff, shout out to Berserker, shout out. I mean, there's a million people. I don't
Yeah,
know who else. Gannon.
Dork. Yeah,
Yep.
Ganon. Well, Ganon's kind of fallen off.
Oh yeah, but
Dork the
Bridget's
Ninjas has
still
been
playing it
playing
all
quite
the
a bit.
time.
I know Tubbs is still playing.
Yep.
So, and we do have under in our games under currently playing, we do have a sub thread for Marvel Snap. So you can jump
Yeah.
in there and show us your decks. Give us your
Show
deck picks.
show me your dick.
All deck picks at yahoo.com.
Yeah, that is. Don't email that address, by the way. Um, that is a real email that one of us on this podcast owns as of last night. Um,
No,
oh
you got all
god.
dick picks at Yahoo. I'm talking about all
Oh
deck
yeah.
picks.
Oh yeah. I did. You go and make that one. I got all dick pics. Uh, anyway, so it wouldn't be a Zando episode if there weren't a card quiz involved. So I don't know what's going on here. It just says card quiz time for the 8th question.
Yep.
What do you got?
All right. So I am going to pick a card at random, and you get to ask
Okay.
us 20 questions style.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can, and I'm going to let you pull your phone out, and so you can look at it too. So ask. Well, let me find a card, and then you just go for it.
I don't want to use my phone.
Okay. Perfect. I like that even better. All right. I've got a card in mind.
All right. I'm going to count my questions down. Is it cost 3 or more?
Yes.
Is it cost 3?
No, it is not.
Is it cost 6?
It is not.
Is it cost 5?
It is not.
So it's cost 4. Okay.
It is a 4-cost card.
Yes. That was 4 questions to get to the cost. Shit. Does it have an on-reveal ability?
Yes, it does.
Does its on-reveal ability create cards?
Yes.
Does it put those cards into your opponent's deck?
No.
Does it put those cards into your hand?
Yes, it does.
Is it an Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yes, it is.
Is it Agent Coulson?
It is not. Agent Coulson is a 3/4.
Oh, you're right. God. Oh, God, who's the 4 cost? Maria Hill?
Nope. Maria
No,
Hill's
that's the 2.
Is a 2. It's a 2/3.
Oh, Nick Fury just got changed to a 4 cost. It's Nick Fury.
It is Nick Fury.
Oh, man, nice.
And I'm showing off my Samuel L. Jackson signed Nick Fury variant.
It is so nice that they flew Samuel L. Jackson out to everyone's house to have him sign their phone.
It's true.
To get that card. Oh, that's ridiculous. I forgot. That's one of the things. If you're listening to this and you haven't played Marvel Snap, Nick Fury used to be a 5 cost. And so in my head, he was disqualified. And I was like, but wait a second.
Yep.
Nope. Now he's 4 and he's so much better as a 4 cost. It's crazy. Oh my God.
All right, you want me to do another one, or do you want to
yeah.
do one for me?
You know what? I'll do one for you. That sounds
Okay.
like a real good time. A real fun time, gal.
I figure we can do a couple rounds of this and then we'll move on.
Sounds
but I just
good.
love the idea of this game.
Sounds good. It is quite fun. All right. I am not going to be too tricky. I've got my card.
Okay. Does it cost 3 or less?
No.
Okay. Is it an ongoing card?
No.
No. Let's see. Is it a male character?
I'm going to say male presenting, yes.
Male presenting? Okay. Is it on reveal?
Yes.
Okay. Is it a 5-cost card?
No.
Is it a 6-cost card?
Yes.
Okay. I'm also not. I almost reached for my phone. I'm like, no, don't do it. Does it have 4 or less power?
No.
And just sorry, I've already. You said it was 6 cost.
It was 6 cost. Yes.
Okay, 6 cost. And it is on reveal.
Yes.
Okay. Does it have token cards attached to it?
No.
No? Okay. So 6 cost, on reveal, higher power card. Is it below 10 power?
Yes.
Okay. Is this a villain?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay. Traditionally thought of as a villain?
Traditionally thought of as a villain, yes.
Okay.
That was question number 10.
Okay. Let's see. I play so few 6-cost cards that this is my weak point here.
Oh no, I got him.
There's going to be a lot of dead air to cut out on this one.
Sorry to our editor. You.
No problem. You're right. Is it a? Does it have 8 power?
No.
9?
No.
7?
Yes.
6? Okay, so it's a 6/7. 6/7 on reveal. I feel like based on that, I should know it. Six, 7, traditionally thought of as a villain. Male presenting. Is this a humanoid character?
Define humanoid.
Like 2 arms, 2 legs,
Yes.
standing upright. I cannot think of it for the life of me. Does the on reveal add anything to your hand?
No.
Heimdall's a move, and that's 8.
That was question 15, by the way.
Okay. Is this a liked card?
Define liked.
Does the community overall like it? Are they like, this is a
No.
great card? Or do people like, fuck this card, I hate it?
Yes, that one.
Oh shit, is it Galactus?
Yes, it is.
It used to
For
be
our
6/3.
Yes, for our listeners, this is a 6/7 that says on reveal, if you're winning this location and this is your only card here, destroy all other locations. And this card was a scourge for so long.
Yes. Because it used to be, it was a 6/2 or a 6/3. And so long as it was the only card played, it destroyed everything else. So you could play it even if you weren't winning and it would do that.
Yeah, it was
Man.
wild. Wild times.
Yeah.
Wild times. Speaking of wild times, it's time for our sponsored question. This question is sponsored by Dormammu. If you've come to bargain, you've come to the right place. Enjoy Dormammu. Anyway, create a card for a character who is not yet in the game. I want to go first because
Okay.
I am a pretty big fan of the Netflix Marvel shows that were
Hmm.
out. The Daredevils, your Luke Cages, Iron Fist was fine, but I really, really liked Jessica Jones. I thought it was awesome,
Hmm.
and Jessica Jones had the Purple Man in it.
Sure did.
Um, and so I have designed a card for the Purple Man. He is a 6 cost, -3 power card. And on reveal, he will gain control of the most powerful card at this location and move it to your side. And so, what's interesting about this card is the reason I like it is because if the most powerful card at your location is yours, it doesn't do anything, it just costs you 3. But if your opponent doesn't know about it and plays into it, it could be a huge power swing. You know, it could grab
Hmm.
a Hulk in that, and then it's like 21 points of power that comes over.
Right.
So it's definitely got interesting play patterns to it. That could make it useful, could make it completely useless.
Yeah. I kind of like also that it doesn't I can't think of any synergy that it would have with other cards, so it would be a real surprise card.
Yeah.
Like it's not like other like Galactus for the longest time was so telegraphed. Did they play Yondu, Wolverine, and and Electro? Guess what? You're
Mhm.
getting Galactus. But
Yep.
this one, there's not really a way to tell, and it really would be a card like sometimes you can lower the cost of your cards to get it out early. I don't know that that's something you would want to do with this card. I think you'd always want to wait till turn 6.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting build. I don't know. I could see it being something you might want to cheat out a little earlier, maybe on turn 4 with a wave, so that way you have time to destroy it
Yeah,
if you need to. But even then, if you do so on a turn 4, now you're not getting as impactful as a card potentially.
right.
So I don't know. It's
And
interesting.
if your opponent's also playing Purple Man, then there's a pretty good chance that they'll just steal their card back.
Also true.
Yeah.
Also true. What's
All
your
right.
card?
So for mine, I tried to think of characters who obviously aren't in the game, tied to Thor, and I wanted to make a Warriors 3 card, but I just couldn't think of a good way to do that. So instead, I went with a villain, and I went with Surtur, who, when I first started reading Thor comics, was the first big bad that I came across.
Mm,
And my idea for Surtur is a 6 cost, 6 power, and on reveal ruins all locations. This would be very similar to Legion, who is a 5 cost 7 power card that that makes every location the same, um, based on where it's played. This one would just ruin all locations. So if there's a card that has it that you're playing until turn 7, that cancels that out. If there are cards that are being boosted by ongoing effects or anything like that, it just gets rid of it. It just evens that playing field. And that, of course, goes for the idea that Surtur brings about Ragnarok for Thor and Asgard and all that. So just raising the land and destroying all locations seemed like a pretty good idea.
it's interesting. I'm surprised that you put it only at 6 power.
I did that just because it has the potential to ruin the stages or the any like boost for ongoing and stuff like that. Like Legion even is a 5/7, and so it just seemed like that would be more devastating. And so I didn't want it to be too powerful, but I also didn't want it to be super weak.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I honestly, I would probably play this if it were a 6/8, you know?
Hmm.
But yeah, I get it. I get not wanting to be too powerful. It's interesting. It's
Yeah, the
definitely
Legion
an
Legion
interesting
started
card.
off 5/8, and they had to bump him down because he was
Yeah.
just it was a strong card.
Yeah, but he's also 5 cost, you know?
Yeah,
And
that's
so
true.
that's a pretty big difference.
I have
Um,
loved Legion quite a bit. That was a card that I got randomly in the Spotlight cache. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this, and then every time I get to play him, it's great. Turning every location to a bar with no name and just completely ruining the other person's day. It's awesome.
that is very cool. That is very cool. Um, Nice. If you guys have a card that you would like to see put in to the game, go ahead and drop that into the Discord. You know what card we didn't talk about?
The Dan card.
Yeah. What would that be?
Uh, Probably a 1 -2 on this turn. Just fuck Dan.
Yeah, seriously, fuck Dan. I love how he's in negative too because he's less than one whole player on a Valorant team. Um, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. He's not even worth 0 power. He's worth negative power. Oh, we love you, Dan. We also love our Patreons. If you are a Patreon subscriber, thank you so much. We could not do this without you. We love you forever. We also love it when you share our podcast with your friends and family. Word of mouth is the only way that we advertise. And so please throw it out there to the friends, family. If you're in a different Discord that's video game related, if you're on like a Facebook group, I don't know if people still, I don't use anything by Facebook. Do groups still exist, Zando? I feel like I'm 70 years old right now.
Yeah, like ironically, you feel like you're 70 years old and you're not on Facebook, right? Like,
Right.
I don't really, I have a Facebook account and I occasionally scroll through just to see what's going on with family, but I don't like look for groups or anything like that. So I couldn't tell you either.
Post our shit everywhere you go. If you have like a work message board, post about the Super OK podcast. Who knows?
Right, Super OK in your local bathroom stall. Just get people wondering.
I don't give a shit where you put it. Wear our shirt anywhere. Wear it to a rave. Wear it to jail. It doesn't matter. Just get the word out. I love the idea of a bunch of people in like prison just like, hey, cool Super OK shirt.
I can't listen to podcasts, but if I could, I'd listen to Super OK.
You know, I saw this fascinating thing the other day about all of the different electronics that are made specifically for jail. And because like you can obviously earn money by working. And so they have a commissary where you can buy like MP3 players, TVs, like that sort of thing. They're vastly overpriced and the labor to like amount to do it is not worth it. But they also all have to be in like clear plastic to make sure that nothing's hidden inside of them. And so like prisons will have like an LCD TV, but the entire bezel of the thing is clear plastic. MP3 players with clear plastic outer shells. It's really wild, really fascinating. Yeah. So anyway, listen to Super OK on that and tell your other inmates about it. Outside of that, tell the people where you can be found.
I am in the Discord as Zando, and then pretty much anywhere else as Zando Calrissian. Jump in the Discord, jump in the Marvel Snap, and let's play some. What's the friendly battle called? Friendly battle.
Conquest.
Let's do that.
We didn't even talk about Conquest.
Yeah, that'll be another episode.
Yeah,
because clearly we have a lot to talk about with this game.
Seriously, I didn't think it was going to be this crazy. Yeah, cool. I am a 20-sided ninja anywhere a 20-sided ninja can be found. I am taking a 4-month hiatus at least on Twitch because I don't have a house right now. So I can't stream from my house. I might go live one day randomly. I haven't decided. But outside of that, I am also on Blue Sky as a 20-sided ninja. Follow me there. And I'm in the Discord. And if you're not in the Discord, it's a real good time. You should probably hop in there. Cool. Outside of that, you got anything else to say about Marvel Snap?
I mean, I've got lots of things to say, but we're already over an hour.
Yeah, I have so much more to say too. But you know, if you want to talk about it, we're ready to talk. We're here. Thanks for listening so much. If you're listening, and I hope you all have a super okay day. Say goodbye.
See you later.
Bye.